And we're live to the first episode of the Slavic Sales podcast. What have you got to say about our introduction, Matthew?
Well, we're here, we're ready to get cracking. What made us start this podcast, Tony?
Well, we come from quite two different worlds, I would say, don't we?
Absolutely.
You come from more about the world that we've been very much about in the gym, self-improvement, and especially online marketing, indirectly. Whereas most of my life I've been doing face-to-face, person-to-person, where it's quite opposite, but when they come together, it's quite interesting to see how the two mix and match. So what do you think the difference is, the main one, compared, for example, you do it indirectly versus directly face-to-face regarding the sales?
Well, it takes a lot more balls to do it face-to-face.
Yeah, why is that?
Because the rejection is in your face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I send a DM and they don't even respond to it, I feel nothing.
I suppose so.
There's nothing to feel.
Because
you know?
I suppose if they don't view it, you don't get rejected, it's just not there.
Absolutely not. No. Direct sales has been an experience, definitely. It's a lot more unpredictable.
Would you say it's much more brutal as well?
Oh yeah. That's why I love it.
However, when you did get started, you had quite a good start because what I do think, in my opinion, the physicality back of it, meaning that if you're quite good in your physique, but at the same time you join the world of sales, which is much more about mentality, I think the fact that you're quite good physically wise improves your sales game quite a lot. What do you think about that?
Well, it plays a role, but it goes a lot deeper than that. You see, if I was just my old self who had nothing else going for him but the gym, I would have started this and it would have been a rough start. I would have been very sort of socially awkward, autistic, some may say. I would have been
You reckon?
stumbling over my words like a bumbling buffoon.
Yeah.
You could say, because I didn't have even though I was going to the gym, even though I was improving my body, it didn't actually translate into any real world confidence because that was my comfort zone. You know, I was that was all I knew. Wake up, go to work, go to the gym. It was a very sad life. Not really any social interaction. So what really I think helped with my strong start in this sales industry is the mindset work that I've developed.
So what would you say you did beforehand that helped you get a good start on this new type of thing with sales that you've never done before?
So I think if I was new to the gym, it would have been different. If I had first started seeing my newbie gains, it's different. That's when you get the most confidence from the gym.
Yeah.
The most, I should say, aggressive spike in confidence is when you get your first newbie gains and you can finally see those differences in the mirror.
I suppose so.
It's the opposite, actually. Now my body dysmorphia makes me think I'm a lot skinnier than I actually am.
Yeah.
But when you get started, I think you'll remember that you think you're a lot bigger than you actually are. You get this invisible lat syndrome, just strutting around, thinking you're the hot stuff, thinking you know what you're doing.
I suppose it's the same with everything. When you start at the beginning, because you cut the knowledge gap of what's basic about everything, you have quick, big improvements.
Absolutely.
But as you get better and better, I think that
diminishing returns.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think gym is one of the few things that has diminishing returns because it's biology, right? It's your muscle mass. You just physically, naturally, the longer you train, the slower your gains, right?
Yeah.
But I think with skills like sales, it might be the opposite. I think, especially when it comes to business, right? Entrepreneurship, it's the opposite. You start out very slow, making a lot of mistakes. And then you reach a point when it goes exponential.
Yeah, it's true, and I think that's why a lot of the businesses they do fail indeed, because when you start a new business or even a team, even in sales, you never really see the return of investment straight away, do you?
No, you don't.
So that's why a lot of them ones who just continuously have a long, consistent action. Finally, when they make it, the results are exponential and it goes up like that. You know,
absolutely.
It's not gradual.
No.
So that's why I would say in every business is important. So what would you say the link in physical fitness has to do with sales? Do you think there's a direct correlation and a link between them?
Yes, but first, let's loop back to the question because we didn't actually answer it. Went on a little tangent, as we're probably going to do so.
As we're probably going to do, yes.
Yeah,
we'll do
we'll do a little swirl, you could say. Yeah. But yeah, look forward to that in any future episodes. We're going to go off the rails and we're going to come back on with style.
For sure.
So let's get back to why I think I made a strong start in sales. Is because I was doing the mindset work that was necessary. It was all about keeping the promises that I made to myself. I started out with the most basic fundamental thing, waking up early. At first, I was waking up pretty much whenever I felt like it, and I would drag myself out of bed at the last possible minute to go do a half-assed gym session, a very distracted one, with no real intention or intensity, before going to a job that obviously I didn't like, that wasn't fulfilling me, and I was just living like a flaccid PP lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But once I made the commitment, no matter how I feel, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. every day. That's when it all changed. The first few mornings were brutal.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know what I mean? It was so much pain to get out of bed at that time, but I knew that I set myself this commitment, and I had to keep it if I'm going to start trusting myself again.
Yeah.
And it worked wonders. My confidence started coming back quite quickly.
Definitely.
The first few weeks of the 5 a.m. starts were rough. I definitely got to about week 2 or 3 and I was like, am I going to have to keep doing this? Yes, I am going to have to keep doing this. You can't go back.
At what time did you get used to it? What time did it become?
After that, after about a month, I was like, shit, this is just my life now.
Yeah, I suppose. So would you say it takes about a month, 30 days?
Yeah, something like that. Well, maybe about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But at first it's rough, but then you get used to it. Then that's when you have to start adding things. Then that's when you have to start adding more habits that push you. Because you only instill confidence once you increase your comfort zone, once you actually do things that used to scare you and things you didn't want to do, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
So I started pairing the 5 a.m. wake-ups with the cold showers, and I started seeing how much I could do after that. What really started to make me believe in myself again was doing mountain rucking. Do you know what that is? Strap on a heavy weight in a backpack and climb a mountain.
Yeah.
I started off with...
Must have sucked as fuck, bro.
Oh yeah, it was painful. But I'll tell you, man, there was no better feeling than when I got to the top.
Yeah, well, I do agree, because if you want to become more mentally tough, it's about doing uncomfortable things, isn't it?
Absolutely, man.
I think the more uncomfortable the thing is, the more tougher you become. It's your direct correlation.
Direct correlation.
Definitely.
Why do you think the freaking SAS, the Navy SEALs, the Marines, they train so brutally?
Definitely, bro.
So by the time it comes down to real war situations, it's just a walk in the park.
I think the training is so hard that they literally force them to quit, isn't it?
Exactly.
They force you to your limit.
Yeah.
So that's why a small percentage make it, you know?
Exactly.
Even in our type of world, you know, it's always like the small percentages that make it, yeah.
How many people are still here from when you started out?
Not many. I would suppose it was like 100 and now there's 2 to 3.
There you go.
But it's never really the most talented ones who do make it, which is interesting.
Yeah.
It all comes down to mental toughness, you know?
Absolutely. Man.
And I don't think it's just here, it's everywhere, isn't it?
Not at all.
Would you describe yourself as a mentally tough person, Matthew?
Honestly, compared to who I was, absolutely.
Yeah, so if you compare yourself to the...
Compared to the average person, yes.
Good.
That's not a very
above
high,
average.
That's not a very high standard.
Yeah,
the average person, they're sacks of cottage cheese, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But
so the average person is basically shit.
Yeah. I don't know. No offense, average person. We love you.
Yeah.
But honestly, compared to who I want to be, compared to the guys I look up to, I'm still a weak little kitten.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
I suppose it compares to wherever you compare it with.
Same as you, I'm sure. How would you answer that question?
Yeah, of course. Because like I said, the more uncomfortable things you do, and it just forces you, especially if you work like an industry as a business owner and it's completely commission based. Yeah. It doesn't matter how you feel, whether that's confident, whether that's not even tough. You still have to be tough regardless, because otherwise you don't eat figuratively.
No, exactly. You know? But I must ask you a question, right? I've never ever seen you turn negative. I've never seen you lose your attitude. You're always cheerful, you're always smiling, you're always having a laugh. Were you always this way?
No, definitely not. And I think, especially if you see a person who's definitely this way, in the sense that you never see that person negative, you always see them being happy and positive. At some point, they must have made a conscious choice to turn it 360, because it was so bad for that person in that moment in time that they were like, I can't keep living this way. So definitely not. It's definitely not. And even if you're a negative person, generally, it's completely up to you. You can make a conscious choice to change it like that. It's a choice, bro. It's a choice. There's no talent in it, you know.
But would you say it takes a lot of practice to be able to maintain that level of just? Because I've seen nothing phases you, man. You just like brushes over you. I've seen you very, very quickly, like briefly, like snap maybe, but you immediately just return. You obviously didn't start out that way, so what was the story?
Well, that's a good... Well, first of all, what would really, really help the average person to do it is surround that person with the other individuals around them that they want to sort of, not necessarily impress, but they know that we're in it together, you know? Because it's always, you always go a bit further, in my opinion, when you're with someone else, and even for someone else other than yourself. So if you don't really want to use your attitude, perhaps start a business, not by yourself, but if you have another person that you're to the same industry, you're very good friends, and you think you could do good work together, do it together, because it will be much, much harder to lose your attitude then. Because you're like, well, I might have quit for myself, but that person is still in it. I have to keep going for that person, you know?
I totally agree with you. I've never lost my attitude when we've been together on the stand.
For sure.
We've just had such a fun time just chatting nonsense all day.
Exactly.
It's impossible.
But for example, when I'm working with you, because I sort of brought you into the world of face-to-face sale, so you might have done a personal training, which I think in my opinion is still a person. It's just a type of sales.
It is.
I can't lose my attitude when I'm with you. Because I'm like, that person is sort of relying on my attitude, you know? And especially if you own your own business, your attitude, I think, is partly your income. For example, if you lose your attitude yourself with your personal training and whatever type of gym coaching you want to do with the person that would want to help you with that, if you just take like 3 weeks off because you're feeling low, it doesn't work. Your attitude is your income, bro.
Your clients are depending on you. They need you to be the rock.
Definitely.
A lot of the time.
The Rock Johnson.
Exactly.
You should have him as a podcaster one day. Imagine.
I don't like him. He's too masculine. I'm scared of him. He intimidates me.
Well, I think, embrace the uncomfortability.
Please, Dwayne Johnson, don't find me.
Embrace the uncomfortability, man. What if he sees it and I'm like, let me just join these guys, teach them a lesson or two. Would you have Dwayne the Rock Johnson in the Rock Johnson in the podcast?
I'd flee, bro.
Huh?
I'm running back to Russia.
What scares you about him, bro?
His bald head.
Would you say your business would succeed in Russia? Since it's lack of sales.
That's a good question. I don't think so. I have no idea what the online coaching space looks like in Russia. I'll be honest with you. I've never explored it. I think the whole side of Russian fitness is very much just figure it out yourself. There's not many guys who make content, I don't think. They exist. They're mostly calisthenics guys.
I would say so.
You know, street lifting.
Yeah, about that type of stuff, innit?
Basically, a competition. It's like powerlifting, but instead using your body weight. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, calisthenics.
Do you know Artem Shirokov?
No.
You know Andrei Smayev?
I don't even want to spell that. No, who are they?
Okay, so they're like beasts in the calisthenics world in Russia. This guy. Andrei Smayev, he's a behemoth monster. He weighs like 120 kilos and he can do pull-ups with 150 kilos added to him.
Jesus. He could probably lift both of us.
Bro,
with one hand like that.
He would strap both of us to him and just start banging out the pull-ups. He's nuts.
Yeah.
Artem, he's on a lot of drugs, but He's natural. He can do weighted dips with like 190 kilos. By the way, the numbers might not be accurate, boys. If you're watching this, I'm not trying to spread misinformation. I apologise.
Would you say that improving your physical physique has at the same time improved your mental health and confidence levels?
Yeah.
If so, to what certain extent?
Like I said, it improves it at the start, but if the gym is the only thing in your life that you're progressing in, you get no more confidence from it.
Yeah.
Actually, the opposite happens. How familiar are you with the gym cell phenomenon?
What is it?
Gym cells. So, have you heard of the word incel?
Yeah.
So a gym cell is an
I
incel who basically just goes to the gym instead of spending his life at his desk playing World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
He's in the gym. He's got his hoodie on. He's got his headphones on. He doesn't make eye contact. He just goes in there, doesn't talk to anyone, and gets out. It's a very sad way to live.
But I still think that a gym cell is better than a gaming
Oh,
loser,
yeah.
bro.
Totally.
At least you got a better body, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
At least you somewhat have the chance to be attractive to from some sort of a chick.
It's
or
a lot
something.
easier to come back from being a gym cell because you have the experience of applying physical effort and intensity to improving yourself.
Exactly.
Which means that once you make the switch and you start thinking, oh wow, life is the gym, I can improve my social skills by just going out there, and it's very painful at first. You know, once you start putting yourself out there again, you bumble, you stumble like a buffoon, and it feels very awkward. You're uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think I think as a gym cell, all you have to do after, as your gym cell, is just to improve the internal work, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Because you've got a good body already.
Yeah.
But internally, you might be lacking self-confidence or social skills. So you're halfway there already. But if you're like an internet gamer, you're awkward. So it probably the best transition from an internet loser who just on the gaming and shit is probably just to go to the gym, in my opinion.
I think the best thing to do if you're starting at zero. And you're a
So
gaming
what if
loser,
someone wants to improve and start from zero?
Okay,
it's
let's say
just a complete low-life dickhead.
Hey now, we love you all, guys.
Yeah.
You're a dickhead, you're a low life, you're a degenerate,
But you can still improve.
you have potential.
How to do that?
I used to be like that.
There you go.
And the best thing you can do is not to hyper focus on one area. I think the two lowest hanging fruit is to get into better physical shape and mental shape. And you do that. I would say if I was going to boil down to the top 3 habits you should do, it's go to the gym, eat clean, and learn how to socialize.
And if they find it hard to go to the gym because they lack in self-discipline because they've been used to gaming all day, how would you tell them to force themselves to still put their body in the gym first?
Brother, life is the ultimate video game. You see your freaking RuneScape character that you're leveling up, that's you in real life.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot more effort to level yourself up in real life, because instead of just pressing a few keys, you have to go there and you have to become uncomfortable and you have to do the stuff, right? And the best place to start is the gym, because it's like a video game, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
One week you hit 20 kilos, the next week you hit 22.5 kilos. Then you start working up, and then you have to figure out ways to keep progressing.
Definitely.
And eventually you're going to get to a point where you become more confident because you've seen your body change.
Mm-hmm.
The trick is not to keep hyper focusing on the physical. Keep training, keep on pushing it.
Exactly.
Start adding more habits.
Because it's never gonna be like you won't become like full jacked in 2 weeks, fella.
No, yeah.
Take your time doing it. And I do agree. For example, in the gym, I'm not necessarily have great muscle mass. For example, you have quite a bit of mass because you've been training for a long time.
Yeah.
But what it does improve, first of all, when you wake up, it wakes you up completely.
Yeah.
It's like having a coffee or a cold shower.
Oh yeah.
And then for the rest of the day, you basically have much more of a chance to be energetic, more positive.
Absolutely.
It improves your mental health. You're much more mentally sharp.
Exactly.
So that's why I think going to the gym in the morning, it might be beneficial for some people than in the evening. Where would you say the best time would be?
Morning only. I can't go back.
Morning.
If you go to the gym in the evening, you need to fix your life, bro. There's something seriously wrong with you.
Because I've heard some people, however, they say that the gym is better. You have more strength in the evening. What would you say?
I was obviously kidding. There are benefits to both approach.
Yeah.
If you go in the evening, you'll have had a lot more meals throughout the day, which means you're going to have more strength.
Yeah, so
more
that's
strength.
the biggest one.
And the thing is, though, it's so much harder in the evening after a long day of work to push yourself, even though
I suppose,
they're not the same buckets. You have a mental recovery bucket and you have a physical recovery bucket. They're not the same.
Yeah.
If you completely drain your mental energy and you feel really tired, but you haven't done any physical work, I promise, it might feel like an impossible mission to go to the gym. But if you force yourself there, you start warming up, you do your first working set, you realise, I feel energetic again.
Definitely.
Because you're tapping into your physical recovery bucket that hasn't even been touched yet. And then once you do expend the physical and you can no longer apply, your mental has recovered a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I think a really good way to do things, and when I go full-time, self-employed on online coaching, that's probably how I'm going to do things. I'm going to do a deep work block in the morning, wake up at 4, same as usual, probably go gym around 10, 11, something like that, after I do some like of the most important work tasks in the morning, so that, you know, I might have a meal in me, it'll be like a nice little division in the day, you know what I mean? I get, I tap out my like deep work focus abilities with my mental side, go to the gym, bang, get energy back, come back in, keep working.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, because it might be a bit of a drag to get there first, but I think it's always physical, and then after the mental that works. For example, sometimes, especially if you're in sales or if you're in a performance type industry, whether that's even sport, your mind might just be all over the place, you know. But if you start physical movements, your body gets much more active. Then you put yourself back in shape a bit more.
Absolutely.
So although it might be a bit of a drag, like you said, the second you start the exercises, then you start getting into the form of it, and then at the end of it, you're so much more. That's why I think, and I heard one of the people that we work with, that the best remedy for mental health is actually the gym, or not necessarily the gym, but physical activity. And I completely agree with that, because it wakes your body up, it puts you back in motion, and then you don't have time to think about negative stuff, you know. So if you want to if you have like a lot of anxiety or depression, I think it's really, really important to put yourself back in shape with some physical activity. Or even some push-ups in the morning if you're so lazy to go to the gym, you know. Anything.
You can get anything done if you care enough about it.
Well, that's of course.
You know what I mean?
Of course,
when there's a will, there's always a way.
Yeah, but some people don't care so much about themselves, you know.
But before we continue on to anything else, I've just realised something. We haven't even introduced ourselves.
No?
We haven't even introduced ourselves. We just dove right into this.
Yeah.
Sorry, fellas. This is a bit of a patchy episode, but I hope you accept us for who we are.
Let's do it this way. Let's introduce each other first, and then the individual then adds up on top of one another. For example, I'll introduce you, then you introduce yourself, then you introduce me, and then I introduce myself.
Let's see how it goes. Go on.
So, for example, me and Matt, we met quite a while ago. Like I did say, I used to do face-to-face sales. I still do it, but then he was more into the online coaching world, which is called the indirect sales. I would say, as a person, he got so much potential to become quite successful. But like everybody else, you just have to have a little bit of extra improvements. But you're on the right track. Has a quite similar story to me. We dove into the self-improvement path about 5 years ago. How long ago did you start your self-improvement journey? 5 years ago or something like that?
Well, I would say it started with the gym.
Perfect, with the gym. So however long that was.
But I had not mastered my other habits. As a matter of fact, it was many years into my lifting journey before I started to take the other self-improvement part of my life seriously.
Perfect.
I was going to the gym, I was unemployed, I was cycling there every single day, I was smoking weed all day, every day. So the gym was literally the only aspect of my life where I was making progress.
There you go.
And I wish I could say, it it's going to carry over to all other aspects of life, but very clearly I demonstrated that it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right? You can go to the gym and still be a complete degenerate, but it's all about learning how to apply that intensity and effort and the ability to progress into other areas of your life. And that's exactly why I got into sales, because I wanted a challenge. I wanted to prove that all of the mindset work I've been doing is applicable in a more practical sense of the word, in the real world of sales.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the only reason I've actually lasted this long. Otherwise, it would have been a tough start, and I would have probably given up very quickly. Wouldn't you say that would be the case?
Well, you're still here.
Yeah, I'm still here.
So what have you got to add on top of what I said? Because like I did say to end my introduction, he started the self-improvement journey. Like you said, he started with the gym. Then obviously he improved his mentality / mental toughness, mental health. He became quite well spoken. Of course, sales usually does that once you enter that world. So down to you. How would you introduce yourself?
Okay, Matt is the name and saving lives is the game. Let's talk a bit about what we do, right? Me and Tony work in the world, as we said, of direct sales, but why don't you tell them a bit more about the job we do?
Yeah, so like Matt said, we've been representing multiple clients, and it's just about face-to-face, and there are some advantages to online. You can reach a lot more people, but let's be honest, there's no other connection like a human connection. So a lot of the clients see very big profits coming in from the person-to-person type of sales. It become very profitable for the clients, long-term investment. But yeah, and then myself, to tie into your journey as well, I was quite similar to Matt. Every person, especially if you're a young guy, you don't really have a lot of value, because for example, if a girl, you do have value, but as a guy you have to build your value. So I started with sales. I used to play professional football, had quite a few injuries, didn't work out. But the sales and the sports industry is quite similar because it's very competitive. So if you can do well in one, you can do well in the other.
There you go.
And down into the self-improvement journey, same internal work, fix the mental health, improve the body in the sense that you're healthy, you're functionable, improve your relationships, whether that's with having a lot of good social circles and everything. So yeah, that's pretty much us.
So what was the first habit you started developing that improved your mental health?
Well, it's funny enough, and I think it might be the same with everybody. It's the gym, my friend. And not necessarily the actual going to the gym, but it's the physical activity. Because some people, they find it very hard to control their thoughts, they have self-doubt. But if you start if you have physical activity, yes, your body will improve, so that's your confidence that's improving. But then you also have like these type of like chemicals, dopamine coming in, and then it's just you feel much more positive about the outlook, about yourself, and it's just everything improves from there. And it's just a self-conscious choice, Matt, to just improve yourself as a person, you know. And I think it's conscious choice to be a loser as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you decide if you're a loser or not. So what are you?
I am a winner, and I didn't say that with enough conviction because I have not yet fully demonstrated the results in real life. But that's only because money is a lagging indicator. I don't know if you've heard that expression before.
Lagging indicator? Well, it's real life lagging.
Yeah, it's freaking ping 3000.
Yeah, the real life is lagging. In England is lagging a bit, guys. We'll be back shortly.
Have you heard of the expression lagging money is a lagging indicator?
Explain it.
So essentially, if you want to make money, you're never going to make something instantly without putting in work beforehand. You know, you're never just going to, unless you steal it. But even if you steal it, you're going to have to put some work in.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
These
you're going to have to
be hard
pick a target, you know what I mean? You're going to have to scope out the premises and stuff. But essentially, what it means is you can do the right habits for a long time without seeing the results that you're expecting, right? I'm sure you felt that way at the start of your sales journey.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the boat I'm in now because I'm still very new to this. It's only been about 2 months. And I had a bit of a rough week, I won't lie to you, but that's exactly what he's been through at the start of his journey as well.
Everybody.
And tell me a bit more about it.
What?
You obviously, you said you felt like you were putting in a lot of work. You didn't feel like you could apply any more effort, but you weren't happy with the results you were seeing.
Yeah.
And that's because money is a lagging indicator, because you have to put in the work for longer than you think before you start receiving the fruits of your labor.
Well, you're right, man. I think every person that's successful, they took a long time to build their trade and industry. If you look at the most successful people in the world right now, they started, and you see them successful, but it took them multiple years, if not even decades, to achieve their level of success, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. For example, if you have an end goal of whatever you want to achieve, but you just keep on putting the work in, but you don't see the results. If you do focus only on the end goal, however, you'll find a way somehow in, around it, under it, because it's the end result that matters. It doesn't matter where you are right now. If you work to improve somewhere, it's only the end result. And if you just look at that, you will find a way around it. Because there are things to change, aren't there? If you're not there yet, you know.
So, how do you suggest people cope with the mentality of it all? Because, like you said before, you might spend a long time without the results. How do you keep going in that situation? What is your suggestion?
Well, I think a lot of people say that having a bit of an ego is a bad thing, and I think to a certain extent it is. But having a bit of an ego is a good thing, meaning that you don't want to see yourself as a loser, do you?
No.
So just remind yourself that at the end of the day, I have no choice but to win.
Yeah.
Because if you don't win, you'll just be a loser. Who wants to be a loser, you know? So just keep reminding yourself that. Be competitive.
But what happens if you keep on losing, you keep on showing up, putting in the effort, but you keep on losing? How do you suggest we keep going?
You must change something, because if a person is successful, it's not because that person is better. They were born with the same two hands, two legs. It has to be something that you're doing. That's wrong. You just have to change something that you're doing. Whether that's the technique that it is applied, or whether that's even the mentality that you think. For example, you might be doing one thing, but you do it whether that's half-heartedly, or you think about the negative outlooks. Whether that's changed your mentality, whether that's changed the outlook. And if worst comes to worst, you can always look out for mentors and for help, you know? That's why the mentors are always important. I don't think there's any person that's successful right now that doesn't or didn't have mentors, or at least someone to sponsor them. There's so many examples.
But let's look at it this way. There had to be one person in history who had no mentors. He was the first to ever become what we would call successful, right? Who gathered a lot of resources and who built a craft. I have no idea who that was, but
Jesus.
it definitely wasn't Jesus. Jesus had God as his mentor, obviously.
There you go.
What I mean is, there had to have been one person in history who had to figure it out entirely on themselves. But luckily, we don't have to do that. We live in an age where there are so many people who have accomplished so many things that it's simply a matter of finding out who has accomplished what we want, and then doing the due diligence to make sure they're honest and they're the right person to trust, because you really do have to be very careful with which mentors you pick.
I agree.
It could really send you down the wrong path if you're mentally unprepared for it, if you haven't built the resilience and the critical thinking. That's one of the topics we were going to talk about, wasn't it?
Tell me a bit about critical thinking. What's your views on it, Matt? How would you describe it to a person that just heard about the term firsthand?
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, they probably don't know how to do it, in which case I can take advantage of them and sell them whatever nonsense I want to, and make a lot of money out of them. So that's how
so buy his product, he's trustworthy.
Absolutely.
I'm joking,
you don't need critical thinking when you're in my world. I'll do the critical thinking for you, it's all good. No, but I would say it's learning how to look at two opposite sides of an argument and work out your own unique decision. You know what I mean? Not blindly following someone else because they're a figure of authority. It's truly learning how to discern truth from lies. But what is truth and what is lies? There's so many levels to this. You know what I mean? You can be a complete beginner in critical thinking. But I ask you, do you think the world of sales helps you develop critical thinking.
100%, because at the end of the day, you have to trust your own decision. Like you said, if a person comes in with something and they say very authoritatively one thing, whatever's right or wrong, or whatever's true or is not true, it comes down to the individual, isn't it?
Totally.
And exactly. So you always have to listen to your own internal dialogue, and if you find that it doesn't suit your value, it's not true. You know, you have to dismantle it. I think it's just coming down, first of all, to whatever you think suits you best as a person. And then, like you said, you have to look under the layer of the words. For example, people talk about something, but they always say it with a reason. So you have always, and if I were to explain to a person the basic ways of critical thinking, if a person says something, they say, ask yourself, so why have they said it? Why have they said it?
Yeah. Have you heard about the rule of 7?
Don't.
So basically, to get to the bottom level of truth, you should ask why 7 times. And if you can't get past a certain level, there's a problem. Something doesn't add up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know where people got this number from, but it seems to work.
Yeah.
It seems to work. When you ask why 7 times, you get to the fundamental truth.
Definitely.
And if someone can't answer why 7 times, then they need to go back to the drawing board and analyse their decision. But we might be getting a bit too complex, and the people watching this might not have enough brain power yet. They'll get there if you keep watching us.
If you keep watching,
us, you will get there.
You increase your brain power, don't you? Yeah.
But for now, let's go back to the basics, right? What are the 5 steps? What are the 5 steps? The 5 steps. Do you think that this 5 steps applies to any industry in any type of sales, or do you think it's very specific to direct sales?
No, I think it applies to a certain extent to everything. For example, a movie, the best movies, they never, and it's the best example, there's never a movie in which everything goes great.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, the sun is out, we're just having a blast.
Wait, pause, because this might get confusing. What are the 5 steps?
The 5 steps is the introduction, so it consists of the 5 steps of every, whether that's a story, whether that's a conversation with someone, an interaction, a sales pitch, or a movie. The 5 steps, which is the introduction, so you introduce yourself, or you introduce the story. Then the presentation, you present the characters. But then at the same time, the 3rd step is a problem and a solution. The description of that is the short story, or the story. But then and then the 4th one is the close, meaning that is the end of the story. For example, every movie has to have an end.
Yeah.
And after that, 5 is called the rehash or consolidation. So it's the aftermath of whatever happens. And to continue the point based on what you said, every movie has to have an upset. Every hero has to have a downside to his hero story, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, there's no point.
No.
So I think the movie industry explains the 5 steps the best. If you look at every movie, there's an upset, there's a rise, and then there's the end, the conclusion. What do you say about the 5 steps?
I didn't think of it like that before, but it's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
To me, I got introduced to the 5 steps by starting this job. When they said it, I was like, huh? 5 steps, what?
Yeah.
There's 3 steps.
It's not 5 steps left, left, right, left.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's what I learned it as was the sales pitch. Obviously, like you said, you have an introduction. Who am I? What do I want from you? That's the most important part. It gets them immediately involved and tells them your intention, right? And then you have your presentation. You tell them more about what you're offering. You know, it really depends how briefly you want to explain it. And I think the 5 steps applies pretty much universally, but depending on what type of sales it is, some parts may be a lot longer, some parts might be a lot shorter, depending what product you're selling, what industry it's in, what type of sales it is. Like online high ticket closing is completely different. Yeah. You know, I'm not sure how much this job will carry over to the space of online high ticket sales, because this environment is very fast paced, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Very intense. Our job is to turn people from unqualified prospects, completely cold, to a paying customer in a matter of minutes, right? And obviously, it makes it a lot easier that we're not asking for a lot of money, right?
But what's good, I think every entrepreneur started in the world of sales, haven't they? And a lot of them started with face-to-face. Some.
The thing is, I know where you're coming from. Most the statistic is most self-made billionaires started in sales, and there's a reason for that.
Go on.
And there's a lot of entrepreneurs who didn't start in sales, but guess what? They struggle the most.
Interesting, yeah.
You know what I mean? How many stories have you heard of tech founders and stuff who've created this crazy, amazing product and nobody even knows about it? Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Because they didn't go out, they didn't talk to people, they didn't get the right data, they didn't get the market research done. And so, how many businesses have failed because they didn't have sales?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's the lifeblood of any business.
Exactly.
If there's no sales, there's no business.
And you might even have the best product as well, don't you think? You can have the best shit, but if you don't know how to explain it to someone, you might be like quite nerdy and quite intellectual and intelligent in creating a good product, but if you can't explain it to a person, they're not gonna buy it. So it's the lifeblood of everything. You're right.
Absolutely.
You know?
So I do truly think that if anyone wants to become an entrepreneur, the best place to start by learning sales.
Yeah.
And then I think using that sales knowledge and then starting to learn more of the technical side of marketing.
Yeah.
Because marketing is basically like sales magnified. It's basically like the fundamentals of sales distributed, and it's the techniques that you use to distribute them to as many people as possible. That's why I think marketing really shines. Obviously, take this with a grain of salt, right? We're still two youngins. We're just navigating this cool and crazy world.
I look like I'm 50 right now.
Guess how old we are, guys?
Yeah, guess after.
We are.
Leave it in the comments.
Leave it in the comments. Yeah, that's a good one.
So how come you're not drinking the coffee, man?
Oh, good question. Well, I'm a bit of a caffeine demon.
Go on, tell us. I think it's quite important. I think
it's very important.
I think everybody cares about caffeine to a certain extent. So tell us, why don't you drink it?
It's the most commonly used drug in the world. I should say commonly used and abused. So many people.
And you're an abuser of caffeine.
Oh yes, my boy.
Oh.
But I'm really clamping down on it, and it's another tool that helps me master myself, because I have a very addictive personality, and it's very easy for me to get sucked away in a binging cycle where I start drinking coffee, and then before you know it, drinking it every day, multiple times a day, supplementing with Monster, Red Bull, freaking anything I can to make myself feel pumped up. It's a dangerous path, man. It doesn't give you more energy, it actually holds your energy hostage, which is why, to anyone who drinks caffeine daily, it's an addiction and a vice, and I don't want to hear it, okay? If you can drink caffeine, coffee, a couple of times a week, I think you can get some benefit from it. For example, today, I've decided it's a caffeine fun day. I'm gonna start the day with some strong black coffee, supplement, a little bit of black tea later, just get a little vibe going, get some excitement pumping through the veins. But I'm not drinking this right now because it's quite late and it will destroy my sleep.
Leave it in the comment, guys. Coffee good or shit? He will be the shit. He will be the advocate for the shit coffee, and I'll be the advocate for the good coffee because I'm gonna drink it.
It's quite late now. This guy is built different. You can chug a Red Bull at 6 p.m. and be lights out by 9.
Yeah.
How do you do it? What's the secret?
Put as much energy as possible, because you'll be fucking crashing down, bro. And when you're crashing, you'd better be in the bed and not awake. So if you drink one at 6, put as much energy there and then, because when you're crashing straight in bed. But if you drink one early, because I've seen some guys, bro, they drink coffee like 7 or some shit. Guess what? They're some of the shittest salespeople I've seen, because they have a quick up, and then midday. When everything is about to happen in midday. So what's your opinion on energy drinks, Matt? Do you think?
Terrible.
Because Red Bull, man, everybody drinks it. It's like billions of people who drink it. Yeah. Tell us about it.
I think it's terrible, man. If you're gonna drink caffeine...
Would you advertise Prime, Matt?
Hell yeah, bro. Yeah, get us some sponsorship deal, boys.
Yeah.
Never.
Huh?
Just...
Would you work with Logan Paul in Prime?
Only if he buys my coaching program, because he needs it, let's be honest.
Bro, I've seen that guy doing some flips in WWE, bro.
I know, he's a physical specimen, for
Crazy,
sure.
bro.
For sure. I think he He's not part of the discussion. We don't talk smack about anyone.
No.
Nah.
Mate, we
All love.
it's
All
good,
love.
It's good appreciation.
Yeah.
But since we're talking about potential podcast guests or potential podcasters, for the fun of it, who would you like to have as a person to like talk about anything for like an hour or two? If you had to just pick, if you had a free option.
Oh, that's
Five ideal guests.
interesting.
5 ideal guests.
5 ideal guests. Wow. Okay. I want to talk to Chris from First Man. Do you know who that is?
No.
He's like, he's an OG of the men's self-improvement industry. You probably haven't heard of him because he's not that big of a channel. He's got 100-something K subscribers. He stays quite low-key, but he's a true innovator. A lot of these ideas that you see floating around the industry originally came from him. A lot of these guys, these gurus you see that are like massive, they let's be real, they steal content from him, but because he doesn't care about production value, he doesn't care about going viral, he just gets on camera, very much like we are, just speaking raw, he just, he builds community, and then that word spreads. Some guy who cares about the algorithm, who cares about going viral, who has way better production value, like who's got editors and stuff, he takes that idea and he dilutes it because he's regurgitating it from someone else. And most of the biggest ideas you see in the men's self-improvement industry come from First Man. So if you ever watch this, Chris, my brother, this chair is reserved for you. It might be some time, but we'll make it happen.
So now you're gonna have to quick fire the rest for
Quick
because
fire.
you spent like 10 minutes on
You go.
Huh?
We go 1, 1, 1, 1. You go.
Oh, okay. So one guest that I would like to have, man, that's a good question. Do you know Joe Rogan has always put people on a podcast, but I don't think he's ever been on one as an...
Oh, he has.
He has.
Of course he
People
has.
interviewing him, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I think it always has to be like the biggest ones, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I always watch the biggest ones, which is the obvious names, but I think the smaller ones, there
Yeah.
are some interesting ones there as well that they have some good values, you know?
Yeah.
Well, everybody started somewhere, so you know.
So tell me a name.
Huh?
Who's your
Joe
first name?
Rogan.
Okay, you didn't make that very clear.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Okay, name number 2. It's a good question. I would have to say, someone who will never, ever, ever come because he's a reclusive hermit. He's an introvert dweeb. He stays locked in his room and he just makes content.
Who's
There's
that?
a guy in the world. His name is Natural Hypertrophy, and I have so much of my self-improvement, like success, not success. I would have a lot of my self-improvement to attribute to him. He started out as a lifting channel. He's a natural lifter. He's got a lot of interesting ideas when it comes to training. I've learned so much about the gym through his videos, and
But he's not such a dweeb after all.
he is a dweeb. If you see him, you'll realise he's French. Let's be honest.
He's French.
He's French.
Every
Yeah,
French
that's-
person is a dweeb.
Yeah, tell me about it. But he's one of the most jacked French people you'll ever see. But it doesn't stop there, because if he was just a gym guy, he wouldn't be that interesting. I'll be honest. Like, gym cells, they're not the one. I'm not gonna say anything, but I am saying something. Flip it out. The brain is starting to get funky.
Don't get us cancelled from the first episode, bro.
No, so it goes beyond fitness. It's about philosophy. It's about spirituality. Lifting can be a very spiritual act. And that's exactly the vibe you get from watching Natural Hypertrophy. So, Mr. Richard, if you're ever on God's green earth going to watch this, you're not going to be on this video because you're an introvert dweeb. Let's be real.
Just so you know,
but
guys,
I love you. I love you.
He's doing a sales psychology technique called reverse psychology here. So he does want you in the show.
I do. I'd love to have you.
I'll leave the
here.
other ones for the next episode because maybe we'll see.
Okay, I guess we're not doing 5. We're doing 2.
We're doing
Let's
2.
do 3 each. Let's make it an even 3 each.
Let's.
So you go with your next guest. Who do you want to have?
I'll have Logan Paul's guy, which is called Ryan. I don't know his last name because he always makes it with a co-host as well. He's kind of a cool guy as well.
What makes you say that?
He asks smart questions.
Yeah?
Yeah. But I'm
But-
curious if he's got smart answers.
Ah, interesting. So you want to see if he's as good of a guest as he is a host.
Exactly.
Ah, that's an interesting approach. I'd have to say for my third guest,
Last.
my third and last guest,
Yeah.
I want to have on the podcast. It's gonna have to be me, honestly. I'm a pretty freaking.
So in the next episode,
pretty nutty guy,
we'll just put you there in the next episode.
I want to clone myself, and I
Okay.
want to ask myself the questions because I want to see how honest I'll be with myself. Yeah.
So,
me.
To tie into that, being honest with yourself is an important thing.
Yeah.
How would you say, if you were to give someone an advice towards improving their mental health or anxiety and depression, because there's a lot of people suffering from it,
Yeah.
and I think you've made a lot of improvements in the past with that.
Yeah.
What tips would you give people improving their mental health?
Very simply put, you have to start keeping the promises you make to yourself.
Mhm.
How many people go through their day and they have all of these half-baked things going on in their mind? They're like, when tomorrow runs around, I'm going to wake up early, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'll start on Monday. Then Monday rolls around, crickets, nothing. The best way to start improving your mental health is to be able to trust yourself again. And the only way to do that is by keeping the promises that you make to yourself.
Definitely.
Start very small. Start minuscule, as small as it takes.
Give them practical advices.
Okay, the
What
best
would you
place to start is at the start of the day. Set an alarm that you're going to stick to every single day, no matter what. Do that for a set amount of time that you determine. Say, for the next 3 months, I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. no matter how I feel, no matter how late I went to bed, because if I feel tired when I wake up, that's okay. I'll just go to bed earlier that day and catch up. It's no big deal.
Definitely.
That's the best place to start. Set your alarm and stick to it every single day. And then once that time is over, say, okay, now that I've become a bit more disciplined, I'm going to start waking up 6 days a week at this time. And then on that last day, I can have a little bit of a lie-in. But that's not an excuse to start slacking. No. That's when you have to start doubling down on your other habits. That's when you should start setting bigger and bigger promises that you have to complete throughout the day. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up 6 a.m. I'm immediately going to hop in the cold shower and then head to the gym. Perfect. And then if you keep that up and you keep adding more stuff, before you know it, you'll become unrecognizable.
Nice.
You become an unfathomable beast of a human. Who other people look at and you're like, whoa, you're so disciplined, I can't believe it. But to you, it's just another day.
It's good advice.
You know what
So
I mean?
you're trying to say it's a small discipline improvement habits, but not to such great extent that you won't follow them. So do something big enough that it improves you, but small enough that you're still going to do it. That was really good advice.
Absolutely. How about you?
Well, I think people just have to get busy. I think if you're depressed, you just fucking got too much time on your hand. I'll be honest, bro. And it sounds tough to a person that is, but if you just are so busy to do stuff, if you do things physically, you don't have time to think.
No.
And that's what improves it. So if I was a depressed person at this moment, I would find anything that keeps me active. Gym, we talked about it already, but anything, whether that's even getting a normal job, even trying something new, whether that's even a hobby or a sport, just get yourself moving, bro. If you're depressed or anxious, you got too much time on your hand.
If you're depressed or anxious, put yourself in the service of others. Because if you're depressed, you're probably very selfish. I know it sounds harsh, but you can only be depressed if you're self-absorbed. If all you can think about is poor little me, I hate to break it to you, it's a very selfish way to think. Once you start expanding your mind and really connecting with the world outside you, asking people about their problems, how can I help you?
So would you say a depressed person is a selfish person?
Absolutely. I will say this though, you can be going through a depressive time without being depressed, if you know what I mean.
Very smart.
For example, let's say you've lost a loved one. You're obviously gonna you're gonna feel terrible. It's not gonna be a fun time. That doesn't mean you're depressed.
Well, you have every right to be sad in that situation.
You have every right to be sad. And in that case, take however much time you need to process that grief, but you know, try to get yourself out there as quickly as possible. I honestly can't speak on this because I've been very fortunate that nobody I've been very close to has died yet. But it's a matter of time, right? It's going to happen to all of us.
Let's be honest, bro. We're humans, so we're not psychopaths.
Nah.
We care about others. We can't always be happy.
Yeah.
But if you have things to do, and especially as to the people that do run a business, I think they're the most efficient individuals because you always have to be doing something. If you're not active, your business fails. But I don't think
that's not necessary. That depends
exactly.
on the business.
It depends on the business quite often.
Yeah.
But say, for example, if you're not there in spirit, meaning that the business might run by itself, but you still sort of have to be there to watch over it. Whereas if you're not, say something happens and you're not there to deal with it, it can still fail. I think you always have to be on it. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly why you got to build your business the aligned way.
Yeah.
Join Louis Calvert's mentorship program, and he will teach you that. But anyway,
it's not a sponsor, by the
it's
way.
not a sponsor. It's just a genuine, heartfelt promotion.
Yeah.
Because it's a good way to do things.
Definitely.
But we've been talking about people. We've been talking about ourselves. Let's be honest, guys. This has been a bit chaotic for a first episode, but I'm happy. It went like this because it was just a bit of fun, right? We just sat here, had a little bit of a chat. Discuss some important topics that can actually benefit people in their lives.
Yeah.
And I think it's time to start wrapping up now. Do you have any closing topics, any last things you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Get to the gym and start sales.
Yes, that's a good place to start. Honestly, if your mental health is in the gutter, sales might be a solution for you because it's going to improve your social skills, force you to be a lot mentally stronger, and keep putting you out of your comfort zone every day. And if you couple that with the physical, if you go to the gym before you start your sales job, you're off to the races, honestly. But it doesn't end there, and this is just the start, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Life is much more than gym and sales, but they're a very good stepping stone into bigger and better things.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that being said, I think we're done.